I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I'm Andrew DeWolf.
And welcome to Musicals with Cheese, a podcast where I try to get Andrew to like musical theater.
And opera, apparently.
Yeah, we're doing opera today. It's been a minute.
Dude, everyone likes opera with cheese.
They
so
like it when we do cover opera. Those do tend to be surprisingly popular episodes. I think I just underestimate the amount of people that love opera out here in the podcast sphere.
You know what I think? I think nobody else covers opera.
I don't disagree with you, but I also feel like when they do it poorly. And I'm not saying we do it great, but
we don't.
No. That is a full sentence. I'm not saying we do it great. But this is actually an opera musical theater piece that is very dear to my heart and has stuck with me for a while. So let's dive into it. Today we are talking about Leonard Bernstein's Trouble in Tahiti. Cue the music. So Trouble in Tahiti is an opera written by Leonard Bernstein and with music and lyrics by Leonard Bernstein, the only piece of theater that he is both the writer, composer, and lyricist for. Even the sequel that he would later make, he commissioned out the script and book to be written by someone else. The musical is based The musical is not really based on anything, but fun fact, Leonard Bernstein did write it on his honeymoon.
That's ironic.
Yeah, it's based on the relationship between Bernstein's own parents, Sam and Jenny, but the wife's name was changed to be more singable, Dinah. I just find it fascinating that this is The Fabelmans. Like, his little Leonard Bernstein's The Fabelmans is much less impactful. It's just about them both missing a school play. The work is dedicated to Mark Blitzstein, and Blitzstein and Bernstein were good friends, and both alumni of Curtis Institute in Philadelphia. Yeah, that's basically it. The problem is, this show has never been on Broadway or anything like that, and its first performance on June 12, 1952, was at Bernstein's Festival of Creative Arts on the campus of Brandeis University at Waltham, Massachusetts, to an audience of nearly 3,000 people. He wrote it to be basically at the end of the night to just kind of wrap it all up, but everything went long, so this went up at around 11 p.m., and no one really wanted to be there at that point. So it was kind of a depressing thing. He would later revise it and make it better, and it was recorded for NBC's Opera Theater subsequently, and was aired on television in November of 1952. Basically a TV special. That was a trajectory back then. But the plot of Trouble in Tahiti is, in 1950 suburbia, Sam and Dinah appear to have the perfect life in their white little house, but their growing detachment exposes a mutual feeling that they are trapped in a life that has turned into a lie. So I threw this at you. This has been a back pocket kind of thing for me, where I know Andrew's going to have a rough week, so here's something short that we can cover really quickly. What did you think of Trouble in Tahiti?
Honestly, I was impressed. I kind of like it. I actually thought it was more modern. I go into these completely blind. I just watched it, you know? Mm-hmm. I thought it was maybe a more modern piece that was like criticizing 50s culture. But it turns out it was actually made in the 50s.
Like if we made a culture about the 2020s right now?
It's really interesting because a lot of the critiques that we have about the 50s are kind of present here. And it's
like what specifically? I mean, we're in the Mad Men post view of the 50s. So what are you thinking of?
I would be thinking of the fact that like housewives were basically all like secretly depressed and horrible, lived horrible lives. I mean, and even though advertising and all of that would portray it as, oh, it's perfect living in suburbia and blah, 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 everyone was just depressed and drugged up and hated their lives, you know? And it's interesting that something written in 1952 kind of portrays exactly that in that way.
That is interesting. Maybe if we're taking like the context into line that Leonard Bernstein wrote this about his own parents, maybe it's a critique on 1920s culture, and we're just stuck in an endless repeating like pattern of us.
Like nothing has changed at all, and things just keep getting worse and worse, and all of the same problems persist because nothing ever changes.
Are you saying something? Are you saying something here, Tucker Carlson?
I'm just saying that might be the world we live in. I'm not saying anything. I'm just asking questions.
There we are. It is a fascinating critique, but I feel like it's more a critique on loveless marriages and absentee parents.
Sure, they do open with a song about how perfect it is living in suburbia, though. So it's hard to not see that as a critique in a way.
I guess. Maybe it's just him trying to work in jazz. Some jazzy upbeat tunes.
I don't know. It's like it's funny cutting from the like jazzy upbeat what I perceive as like an advertising tune. Like this is an advertisement, and then we flash to the real world where they just are immediately bickering and miserable.
I love this show so much because the intensity is always out of 10. Like it's like a boy like that from West Side Story.
Honestly, I think it's a type of show that I've talked about that I don't really like very much, which is like the only thing that goes on is that it's just a loveless marriage and they hate each other, and that's the whole show. But it being 50 minutes, kind of like, dang, they like, you know, you get the idea and it's over.
No show has wasted less of my time than this, except maybe Dr. Horrible. So when I say Leonard Bernstein, what does that name mean to you?
I feel like I would mostly recognize him because I'm pretty sure West Side Story.
Yes, he did the music to West Side Story, and he's not known for like writing librettos or even writing his own lyrics, and that's what sets this apart from most of his other work. I think it's both, obviously, his most personal work and the one that is most wholly his.
Well, I mean, it has to be in a way. I mean, he wrote everything. What do you think of the lyrics? Actually, that's an interesting question because I found that there was some stuff that I was like, Jess is probably going to be like, this is weird.
It is very weird, but he had a very. Part of me was thinking it was intentional, because it's very common everyday language, heightened to operatic standards of singing, which is, I think, the juxtaposition he was trying to go for, which is opera standard to petty bullshit.
But yeah, because opera, like when you hear opera, like I mean, one, people generally don't even imagine it in English, which isn't necessarily true. There's a lot of opera that is in English, but we don't think of that. You always think of like, oh, they're singing like Italian. Yeah. They're singing Italian and they're singing about like Greek gods or something. But here it is where they're just literally singing advertising songs or talking about the plot of a movie. You know?
Or like wondering, wait, did I have a thing for my secretary? Nah, let me check with her. Oh, I did? Oh no.
Yeah, like it's
so
very
interesting. I wish. How would you pitch this? Like, if you were to like walk up to someone on the street, like, hey, I got tickets to Trouble in Tahiti, like performing. Can you tell me what it's about? What should I expect?
I mean, I think the simplest thing is that they it's a couple that hate each other, and it's set in the 50s. And really, there's not a ton else to it. I mean, obviously, there's a very simple plot line, which is just like the wife thinks that the guy is cheating. The guy kind of is cheating, but the guy is not even sure if he's cheating. It's weird. I'm not sure about that part. I'm not sure like how we're supposed to take that. Is it like he's covering his ass by pretending that he wasn't cheating? Or
I think that he was like getting accused of like having sexual overtones, and he's like, no, that's just the way everyone is. I'm gonna call her to make sure. She's like, yeah, you kind of have been. He's like, wait, what?
Yeah, okay. So he was sexually harassing somebody and is a man in the 50s, so he didn't realize it.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was a not so kosher thing to do.
Yeah, he was just like, no, that's just how you act. You call everyone toots and slap their butts.
That's only okay on the football field. And they have a son named Sam, though, that I feel like even they forget exists by the end of the show.
He just kind of reappears at the end, but I mean, that's the major plot point, is that they forget he exists, right? Because that neither of them go to his play.
Yeah, I mean, they both go to a movie instead. Yeah. Which I think says more about Leonard Bernstein and where he felt that their opinion, his parents' focus was.
I think it's very interesting that there's an entire, like, the name of the show is Trouble in Tahiti, which is just, I mean, it sounds like, oh, this is going to be like a Mary-Kate and Ashley, like there's trouble on a paradise, right?
Aloha, little man.
Problem in paradise?
But
I'm sorry.
That is not the case. That is the name of a movie that is inside of this that they go and see, and I don't know if these characters have names.
They're Dinah and Sam,
right? Dinah goes to see this movie and just fucking hates it, but she describes the entire plot in like a jazzy, upbeat number. So it's really fucking weird.
Can I tell a story of where the first time I encountered Trouble in Tahiti? And it's
sure.
related back to this song, so it's not just me like, I'm going to go on a tangent in the middle of your sentence. So I was hired along with 3 other videographers to record an entire opera showcase in Michigan, and I don't know what's coming. But we have to set up all of our cameras and do sound checks during rehearsals. And it's just the mother character out here doing this song, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? This is weird. I'm excited, and it got me pumped, and then seeing it in context was even funnier, because I'm like, how are we going to lead to a lady doing a racist vocalization?
It's so nonsense. Which, yeah, there's that weird racist vocalization, but it's almost like she's doing a thing from a movie within the show, so you don't even know how to feel about it.
Yeah, she's more recent productions, they'll have like title headers like Act 1, blah, 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 blah. This one in a production I saw was Scene 7, Mom sees a racist film.
Which, I mean, yes. That is what happens. I will not deny that.
Something is so charming, and sincerely, I think this song, it's a scene, but What a Movie is its unofficial title, is one of the catchiest pieces of music I've ever heard. Since I first heard it, I can hum basically the entire melody from the start.
And it's so fucking bizarre, because it's like, literally, the intro to the song is just her saying that she hates this movie. And then the entire rest of the song is her describing everything that happened in the movie in a really upbeat and like energetic way. And then it ends with her saying she hated the movie.
Like, it's so specific. Like, there's a legend. If a princess marry white man and rainfall that day, then the white man shall be sacrificed without delay. Like, okay, I've watched this show maybe 3 times in my life. I can hum that part perfectly. It is such a convincing, but it is very much describing a very white savior situation of a movie and criticizing it.
It is a wildly racist premise for a movie. Like, the fact that they made it so that she is describing a movie and not just doing this saved this show from being just horrendous.
I think it's aged better because
it's honestly,
of it.
Yeah, because it's like, now it's like, oh shit, they're critiquing this, even though honestly when they wrote it, I'm not even sure if they were. Maybe I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he was. Like, considering he would go on to write West Side Story, I feel like he'd have a little bit.
That's true. Right. Yeah. So he probably was critiquing it.
Yeah, it's not like this guy is just like some schlub doing weird mommy issues on stage. Which
yeah. But it does feel even more relevant now, because it's like we're looking back at a lot of these movies now and we're like, holy shit! Like, all of these movies are fucking racist as fuck.
But this feels like such a modern take. Like, this opera feels so modern to me, and seeing a production today just feels as relevant as it is back then, because it's just simply about like a dissolution of a marriage and critiquing racism, and it feels like a critique of the 50s despite being written contemporaneously to that time.
Well, yeah, again, just going back to what I was saying earlier, like, if you had asked me, like, without like me knowing anything else, if you had asked me when this was written, I would have been like, 2 years ago.
Let's talk about the idea of short musicals, like short music theater. We've always been big proponents of it. I think this is like one of the only big times that we can really bring it in. Like nothing else like this exists.
I mean, this is under an hour. Like we talk about shows that are like, oh, like an hour and a half, or like an hour is like very short. This is 50 minutes.
Perfect.
Maybe 45, depending on the performance. Like,
I sincerely think this entire show is as perfect as musical theater can be.
And I'm not saying there's no longer shows that I would rather watch or anything.
Oh yeah,
like
no,
that,
no,
but
this is not like a top tier show anyway.
No, but as far as like, should we have more shows like this that are just this like kind of bite-sized, like perfect, like contained story, very simple, very pointed. Like it's a very clear satire, and you get the message from 50 minutes. You don't need to waffle on about it for 2 hours, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like it nails it, you know? And I would love to see more stuff like this.
I would too, but I guess we do eventually have to talk about the longer version of this.
There's a longer version of this?
Yes, so Leonard Bernstein ripped off John Krasinski and made a sequel called A Quiet Place.
Did he rip him off in the past?
Yeah, he ripped him off in the past. They have to be very, very quiet. And this one is everything that the original one they were afraid it was gonna be, or sounds like it would be, and critics lauded it as pretentious and terrible.
Okay.
So here's the premise of that. And in more recent days, they will take the first half of A Quiet Place, then put the elongated flashback that is the entirety of Trouble in Tahiti, then come back to A Quiet Place and form a 3-act opera.
That sounds like you're taking one of the best aspects of this show and removing it for no reason.
Yeah, so basically it's about Dinah's funeral and, you know, the
What
father
the fuck?
and son coming to blows at the mom's funeral, and it's a real bummer.
That is a real bummer. And honestly, why would you, of all the characters to kill off, why would you kill off Dinah? Like wasn't she kind of the most interesting character in...
I think it's just because he was, instead of trying to make art, he was trying to go to therapy.
Oh.
And she died in an alcohol-induced car crash.
Drinking and driving, very nice.
Yes. It's just a real mourning, like, oh, my mom's dead kind of story.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say that Trouble in Tahiti is like upbeat or anything. It's clearly not. I mean, it is about a pretty depressing situation overall, and it doesn't exactly have a happy ending. But I'm
this
not
is
sure
it's about the dad trying to reconcile with his adult children. It's big fish. It's everything we've seen. At least this is kind of a little bit more subtle with its abandonment of the child.
Yeah, and I feel like what do you gain by having it be about death and like that sort of thing, grieving and whatever? I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I haven't seen it because I don't want to judge it beforehand, but it doesn't sound like the extension to this show that I would want to see.
The characters aren't depthful enough for I really want to see an extension of their life.
It feels more like this show is just a satire, like just a direct satire, to the point where I feel like they did name the characters, but they didn't even need to really do that. Like it could have just been man, woman, like 1950s man, 1950s woman, because it really just feels like a satire.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a story.
But
which
it's therapy for the artist. Which
true. You know, but there's a difference between what the artist wrote it for and how it is interpreted by everyone watching it. And like, sure, he wrote it about his parents in the 20s, but me watching it, all I'm seeing is a satire of the 1950s.
I mean, it's like The Fabelmans, where Spielberg writes a scene at the end of... Have you seen The Fabelmans?
I haven't, but you can spoil it. I don't give a shit.
Okay. I need to know that I'm not the only one that feels this way.
Go ahead.
The film ends with him, like, the Spielberg goes and brings his camera to senior skip day and films everyone, and then he screams it at prom for some reason. And he apparently followed his bully around shirtless at the beach and made it look like an action hero. And he's shirtless at the beach. So I think the film wants to be like, oh, he uses cinema so effectively, he made the bully look like a hero because of the magic of cinema. But I'm reading as, you're in love with your bully. And yeah, there's a lot of other things, like the bully's anti-Semitic, and there's a lot more complex issues going on there. But you just show me a video of him following him around shirtless at the beach and just... Yeah, and then the bully crying in the hallway at him saying, why'd you make me look so good? He's like, I don't know.
I honestly, I've seen that scene, and I couldn't I couldn't figure out what the hell they were trying to do with it. And I was like, maybe if I see the whole movie, it will make sense. But you just kind of explained it, and I feel like it doesn't really.
It's a weird movie. I have big problems with The Fabelmans, but I don't have those problems with Trouble in Tahiti because it is less self-grandizing. I'm so glad that the child character is not a character in this. And I think the problem with A Quiet Place, even A Quiet Place Part 2, is that the children are at the forefront of that story.
God damn.
Well,
The Quiet Place Part 2.
A Quiet Place Part 2, Trouble in Tahiti.
Okay.
So, one of my favorite aspects of this is the Greek chorus, like singing chorus. I think they are like the glue that holds this together and makes this a full piece rather than just a solo of arias, bunch of arias.
I really like their implementation, and again, this is my personal interpretation, but every time I see them, I'm like, this is like the characters listening to the radio or something. Like, this is because one of their main songs is that they're literally advertising the suburbs that the house is in or whatever. Like, they're singing about how nice this house is in the suburbs. And then, of course, when we go inside the house, the first thing we see is that they hate each other and everyone is miserable. So it really does. It feels like the Greek chorus is supposed to be like a juxtaposition in a way with the actual main characters.
I don't quite see it that way. I think they're just the society reflecting the main characters.
You think?
Because they keep setting them up as the perfect family, the perfect like their society setting them up as what the world sees them as, and we're seeing what they really are.
Maybe that's more what I was trying to say, honestly, because
Okay.
I do agree with that.
Because I think what's the frustrating about Bernstein in this is that he is seen by the outside as having this perfect life, and then he sees the strife on the inside and the intricacies and the what sucks. So you brought up lyrics. They're rough.
They can be, yeah. There was a portion of the opening number that I was pretty sure they were just speaking gibberish.
La da da da.
Is that? Am I right about that?
Yeah,
or
you
was
were
I
correct.
was I having
They're
a
just
stroke at the time?
Scatting. And I know you like scatting.
I thought it was interesting, but I was like, what are they doing? Like, I was half expecting it to be like an experimental piece. Like, this is an opera where they're like, it's like a play on music theater. Like, but imagine if there was no lyrics and it just, you just got the vibes. Like, it was just like, we did a song that sounds
Sim-ish.
Yeah, like literally, that's what I was like. I was like, are they doing that for like? And then they just go back to English, of course. But but I was like, what the hell's happening?
So, if we were to try to, what would it be like if we were to try to make our own Trouble in Tahiti about the 2020s?
Replace the like 1950s advertising style songs with TikTok type songs.
Ukulele apologies.
Ukulele apology songs. I feel like the 1950s like atomic family,
Yeah.
like nuclear family.
Nuclear family.
The 1950s nuclear family that has been sort of replaced for us with this like hustle culture kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
I love
like,
the way your brain works, Andrew.
Because we no longer have this idea of like the American dream is we're gonna start a family in the suburbs with a white picket fence and
because
two
now
kids
we
and
like
a
gay
dog.
people do that, and now it's ruined it for white people.
So now the American dream is you work 25 hours a day every day of your life, and eventually you're
die.
Elon Musk.
Oh my God, yours is so much worse than mine. I'd much rather be dead than Elon Musk.
Well, the thing is, people that buy into hustle culture do want to be Elon Musk. Like, so.
I think, but I don't know. I feel like that's just capitalism grinding us to the bone and demanding
that's
that we
what
thank
the nuclear
them for.
family was, though. Like, the nuclear family was an invention by advertising agencies to put on billboards. Like that wasn't a real thing. And I think that this show is kind of saying that.
So it would be about a couple. One of them overworks himself at Wall Street. Well, what would the spouse or friend character be?
Sadly, I think if you did a 21st century or a
21st century.
Yeah, if you did a 21st century version of this, there wouldn't be a couple because they would both be working.
But there'd somehow be a kid. We're still procreating somehow.
That's the other thing. Are we?
Should we?
Should we is a great question. Let's talk about the ethics of having children when there's a global climate crisis that is about to destroy fucking everything.
Oh, buckle your seatbelts, bitches. Andrew's got opinions. You thought we were just talking musical theater? Hell no, we're taking a dive into politics town.
Look, we're talking about trouble in Tahiti, okay? This show has things to say, and it does nothing to do with what I just said.
I mean, I think Leonard Bernstein would agree with you that maybe we shouldn't procreate if we are going to be shitty people.
That is kind of what this show is about.
And all Sam wanted, it meant the world to him that they saw his play, and neither of them saw the play.
Neither of them fucking went.
That is the subtext. The authorial intent is Mommy and Daddy didn't see my play. Daddy wasn't there.
It's worse than that, isn't it? Not only did the mother not go to see the play, she went to see a horrible movie that she hated.
Twice.
She would rather go see a movie that she hates 2 times than go see her son's
the modern
play.
one. The modern one. She had to see The Flash. And there's a Batman, and he helps him save the day, but then there's suddenly another Batman from a different universe that comes. So the Flash has to run and he's running.
Trouble in the multiverse.
Okay. Well, now we got to make trouble in the multiverse. We have to do the modern Trouble in Tahiti.
I mean, I feel like we have some good ideas already here. We've come up with some stuff here.
If you want to know a film that is like the antithesis to everything of art and a representation of hustle culture before thinking, it's the Flash movie. I have not paid to see it, but I did yo-ho some most of the film, and yikes, that film is literal gibberish.
I saw the trailers, and that was enough for me. I was like, I've seen enough. I don't want to see any more.
You made the right call. It might be the worst film I've ever seen since Joker 2019.
I've got to say, I know that there's like 1 or 2 exceptions, but DC really just pumps out trash, doesn't it?
I mean, the exceptions are the ones that are taking over. Like, I really like the Suicide Squad.
The second one, though, not the first one. Because the first one was garbage.
Yes, that was incomprehensible. It was barely a movie. It might as well be a TikTok.
You realize that not only will DC continue to pump out garbage, but it's going to get worse because now there are no writers and no actors.
Let's talk about the strike for a minute. I know that it's trouble in Tahiti time, but the day we're recording this, the Screen Actors Guild just announced that they are going on strike alongside the Writers Guild.
Yes.
What a fucking nightmare. This is, I retweeted this, but just a context that I know Andrew is going to love so much. Do you know the last time this happened?
Oh, God. I think I saw something, but just go ahead. I don't remember.
The last time both the SAG and WGA were on strike, not only was Eisenhower still president, but the Actors Union was led by noted organizer and socialist Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan went on strike?
Yes, he was like known for his socialist beliefs and led the union into the strike. He was doing the Fran Drescher thing.
Damn, he really did get brain damage somewhere along the way.
Yeah, whatever happened to that guy?
What happened?
I think the Red Scare happened, and then he turned in a lot of friends. And on that note, how about we go into a mid-show? Sorry to interrupt you, but we've got a shill at you. Today's show is brought to you by the extremely kind donations by our donors over at Patreon. Patreon's this beautiful place where you can get a lot of cool stuff, including Patreon meetups. Hopefully we're going to be doing one a little bit this week, this month, as well as a lot of other cool stuff. Our current patrons are Melissa Goldman, Danielle Renix, Jess Stampede, Ewan Cassidy, Monica Thoreau, Brent Black, Nathaniel Stacey Coombe, Joseph Evans Green, Mary Lou Choquette, John Vanals, Russ Walker, Musical Hell, Emily Gracie, Kyle Summers, Janae C, Scoot the Technicolor Dreamcoat, Liz Lim, Nothing is Certain Except Beth and Taxes, Thespian, Jessica T, Mitchell Young, Chai Teacup, Katie McDonough, Chris Marcotte, Kiji Marie Anastasio, Layla, RJ Narija, Bjorn Herman, Toriana Frazier, Sammy The Adequate Amount Jacobson, Lyanna Morton, Haley Blazier, Cinemagen Reviews, Villainous Mist, Sophiana Ali, The Omega Geek, Paige Pearson, Maddie Wargle, Alisa Erdman, Anna Loskatova, Sarah Den Blekier, Evan Ball, Zachary Torres, Rora Marasso, Mara Forloin, Captain Rodtastic, Lisa L, Possessed Washing Machine, Renee Thomas, Nick Roden, Puffy Boy, Summer, Julia Hardy, Jay Kusia, Caitlin Bridgman, Sydney Hicks, and Beal and Billy Clifton. They all give us a little extra finance support that helps us keep the lights on here at Musicals with Cheese. Come join them. Be cool like them. I'll love you slightly more. All right. Anything? Oh, yeah. Monica Thoreau, our $100 patron, wants to remind you to please get your eyes checked and don't go to sleep with your contacts in. That is what she wants us to say every week. Andrew, any opinions on that? Do you ever wear eyeglasses?
No, I don't. But I hear that you do, and you often fall asleep with your contacts in.
I've never fallen asleep with my contacts in.
You told me that you can't get them out sometimes.
That is different. They get stuck in the inside of my eye, and then I have to like wash it out with like an actual like water hose in my shower. It eventually comes out. Contacts are a son of a bitch. Okay, let's get back to the show. I really, really enjoy the we already brought up the jazzy preludes, but every time they come in, it both feels like a classic musical theater as opposed to opera.
Lovely day, lovely life, happily married, sweet little son, family picture, second to none. It's a wonderful life, hot today kitchen, washing machine, colorful bathrooms, and Life magazine, and a little white house in Broadway.
There's a couple songs that do feel very much more music theater than opera.
Yeah.
But the stuff that connects them is what makes it really, the whole show feels like an opera. More so, though.
Mm-hmm. And I just, like, I feel like he's still working within his musical theater tricks. And I know musical theater was barely a genre at this point. It is
1950. Like what's out at this point? Like,
let's take a look. 1952 Tony Awards.
Was that even a thing?
I don't know. See, this period. It is the 6th Tony Awards that year.
The 6th. Oh my goodness.
Let's see. What was it? The King and I was the big musical that year.
Okay.
So it existed. Like, yeah, musicals were still pretty new, but doing all right. Wow. Yeah, The King and I was the big one that year. Yeah, this didn't get no love. And I Am a Camera, the play that Cabaret would be based on, was being nominated for Tonys that year. Look at that.
A little peek into the future.
A little peek into the future. But yeah, so musical theater was a brand new genre, and he's using those tricks through opera, where the operatic piece is the most mundane shit in the world. Like, are you going to Sammy's play? I'll try. Wait, no, I can't. I have to go to the gym. You in that gym.
It's almost like things are flipped in a way. Like the like the mundane stuff that probably should have been more music theatery is like opera, and then the the stuff that's more like bigger, like more epic in a
Or
way.
stylized, even.
Yeah, like cause like I would say the song where she describes the plot of the movie is kind of music theatery.
Yeah.
And that one is, about this like grand adventure, which is something that you usually hear as an opera, like because those are usually about like gods and myths and things. So,
But then when we get into just like, oh, my secretary, it is like, it's imagine the intensity of A Boy Like That from West Side Story with the stakes of just the opening scenes of West Side Story where it's just the brother and sister talking.
Oh, Mr. Partridge, I'm perfectly fine, thank you. She's well. Yes, exactly what I want to speak to you about. With things as they are, I cannot see how you could ask me again. Now, Mr. Partridge. Yes, I know all that. You've already said that. Ah, but that's just why I have to refuse you. No. Yes, I was sure you would finally see it my way. No trouble at all.
I mean, the stakes are literally just, did I do something creepy? It's like a meeting with HR,
And your wife saw a movie. Those are the stakes.
Yeah.
So, and here's the thing. All the songs kind of blur together for me. Like, aside from the movie one, which feels like a very distinct scene, all the rest of them kind of flow into each other.
Well, it's kind of like an opera in that way, where it is just kind of sung through, and everything kind of flows together, except for there are these moments of real song. But the interesting thing about it, though, is that the moments of song are most of them, except for What a Movie, I would say, are done by the chorus.
Yeah. Did you feel any pathos or emotional connection to these two? Like, when they're singing their hearts out, it's not about like what they want or their regrets, really. It's just about
I felt that they both hated each other, and that was about all I got from them. Like, I didn't feel like sad for either of them really, or anything like that. It was more just like, goddamn, they hate each other.
Yeah, but along with a lot of musicals that are about like broken families, Next to Normal, Fun Home, to a certain extent, Kimberly Akimbo, this feels entertaining. Like, I know it's like, but this feels very much trying to entertain us and never loses that.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is the fact that they have these upbeat music theater numbers that come back in that are not really about the same stuff,
Mm-hmm. I got a question for you.
What's that?
If you had to cast this musical with internet celebrities, who would you put in the two roles?
Doug Walker as the man, and Colleen, what's her name, as the woman. That's not a real answer, but I'm still gonna go with it.
No, we're sticking with that. And we're gonna turn What a Movie into a ukulele song. And they both have to apologize by the end.
Isn't it time that we had a talk?
About what, dear?
A talk about us.
Certainly, Sam, I'm ready to hear.
Open and candid.
Whatever you say.
Where to begin?
That's up to you.
And this is me interpolating. Leonard Bernstein had a weird past and a weird relationship with both men and women.
Okay.
He is in musical theater. He is very much a theatrical guy, but he's also a bit often hard to work with. And I feel like everything that he represents his father as, going to the gym, having a real normal 9 to 5, schmoozing with ladies, that was not him. So it's more like, in critiquing his own father, he is critiquing manhood in general. And I think that's a lot of it. I'm thinking of it as a personal connection to the writer to this one thing, which also says something about society's representations of this one thing as a whole.
I mean, a lot of this, and a lot of what we've been saying, I think, is that this is almost just a accidental perfect satire. Like, you know, like he didn't mean it to be, and he didn't write it to be one, but it kind of just is.
Or maybe just all good work is also commenting on the society around it, whether it's intending to or not.
This isn't just commenting, though. This is like direct critique of like very particular elements, you know? Like from the start, you're directly critiquing the nuclear family life in suburbia, saying like, oh, it's perfect, like all of our billboards and our advertisements say, and then immediate like undercutting of that, no, it's not, they hate each other. And then you have like songs about very particular parts of it, like being a housewife sucks ass, being a man has all of these like rules that we have to follow. Racist movies exist.
And that's
like,
our escape. Our escape from this is into these racist movies, because that's all we've got.
And she sees him, the handsome American. I must say he's really a man, 6 feet tall and it's just incredible. Rather madly in love, but there's trouble ahead. There's a legend in the book of many white men, and they know that day that the white man shall be sacrificed without delay. Sure enough, on the night of their wedding day, there's a storm rolling on the tidal wave and surroundings. That's hurricane, let the torpedo go, the volcano erupt as it enters the
yeah, so it's less. It feels like less of just, well, all art comments on society, and more like direct satire of very particular things with examples. You know, like I don't know. That's it. It really feels like he accidentally made like a very sharp satire to me.
You know, the closest that, as far as I'm concerned, of dealing with an actual one-to-one of parents to individual, A Strange Loop. This feels very much akin to A Strange Loop in how him critiquing his own familial relationships critiques the society around it as a whole.
It's true,
And he also comments on like the media that they consume, with Tyler Perry like representing very racist depictions.
You're actually kind of dead on. This actually, you're kind of dead on. Is this like
the template for A Strange Loop?
Like, A Strange Loop is incredible, and I think it's probably better than this and more relevant today. But is this like the 1950s A Strange Loop somehow?
I think that is the way we should sell this if we're like hired to produce a new production of Trouble in Tahiti. We promote it as the original Strange Loop.
I feel like it's sort of offensive to do that.
No, it's 100% offensive to do that.
But I think like genre-wise, now that I'm thinking about it, like they are kind of like in the same place in a way.
The only thing that A Strange Loop tackles that this doesn't really tackle, mostly because I feel like he would be afraid to, just for the cultural standards, is the sexuality and all of that I know Leonard Bernstein was going through and dealing with at the time.
I think that the time period like just prevents him from doing that entirely, though. I don't think this could get aired on like television, which it did. If he had done that, obviously.
But is there some sexual subtext in this? Like,
I would almost argue that the complete lack of sexual subtext is sexual subtext, in the sense of a satire of the 1950s. Like, where is the sex? We don't talk about it.
Well, it depends on which 1950s media we're embracing, because, like Mad Men, it's everyone's fucking. James Bond, like one of the most iconic mid-20th century pieces of media, is all about sex.
True. But when we talk about like what it means to be like the American dream, like family, it's all like completely and literally whitewashed, you know, like it doesn't exist. It's interesting. That is to say, though, this does not have any like sexual subtext outside of just the HR meeting that he goes to.
Yeah.
That he sets up for himself.
Imagine you getting I need to go see HR. Just puts on a different hat. You can't be doing that. Okay.
Did I do something fucked up? Yeah, you did. No way. No, I did.
Aw, shucks.
I'm fired.
You're rehired. We forgive you. Oh my goodness. So, actual question. I asked you a joke question the first time. Unlimited money. Who would you cast in these roles if you were given like a chance to do this production with the assumption they could sing it?
Yeah, I mean, them being able to sing it is huge because like not many people are going to be able to sing those high parts. Or really
those
the low
low
parts
parts.
either. Yeah. You know I'm terrible with actors. I really don't know who I would cast. This is more of a you question, really.
Okay.
I mean, do you have like a casting ready?
I would probably the easy answer would be Josh Groban because,
Josh Groban, I think would do a fine job. I don't think it's really something he would do though.
No.
Although then again, he's in Sweeney Todd right now, so maybe he's wanting to break out of that mold a little bit.
You know what? I'd do Norm Lewis, maybe. I think he'd be a good choice, a little different. And I'd probably try to update it. So what would be the modern family? Because I know we got the setting of 1952, but what would be the modern version of this? So maybe Audra McDonald, just because I like hearing her sing, and I feel like those two would look good together. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Just vocally, I want this now.
I think that there's a lot of potential in this. I do hope it's still being performed.
Yeah,
I feel like the version you sent to me was a bit of a newer one. So
yes, that was I believe the National Theater production.
Yeah,
don't have issues with more modern productions, but I feel like when they're trying to make it too modern, like I feel like this doesn't need a set.
I'm not like opposed to having like small amounts of sets, but it really doesn't need much.
Yeah, I feel like this is a good pairing with like a 90-minute musical just to kind of give a little bit of an extra bit of fun at the end. I feel like this is a good like appetizer or dessert for an evening. I don't think it's a full evening in and of itself. The way I saw it, it was like paired with a Gershwin concert as well.
Yeah, I think that would be great and it would be well worth the money. Because obviously, the part of the reason these type of shows don't get put on is because no one's going to pay $150 to go see 50 minutes of a show when you could pay the same amount to go see 2 hours.
But it's impressive. Like most of this is more vocally impressive than a lot of the shows on Broadway.
Of course, but that's a lot of opera, isn't it? Like opera is more about showing off the vocalists.
And, the orchestrations. Like this you kind of need a big band to be able to pull this off.
But this is such an interesting opera and so different from what you would usually see in that space.
Like what other operas we've covered with like Pirates of Penzance and The Magic Flute, it's not really the same category.
It really isn't. Like Pirates of Penzance is probably the closest, but that's just because that's almost like a proto-musical. Whereas this is actually more of like a true opera that just has like a couple musical theater numbers thrown into it in a way.
Andrew, what is your overall thoughts on Trouble in Tahiti and your cheese rating?
I mean, I was very positive here, and I did really enjoy it. Of course, it was on the short side, so I like that type of thing.
It's a satisfying chode.
Yeah,
it's short but fat and dense.
What he said. No, it's very good. I'm not saying it's perfect or anything, but like for what it is, it's good. And honestly, the fact that it was made in the 50s is impressive to me. It's like it's so prescient, I suppose, is the word. Like they knew, like he somehow, maybe he didn't know, but he somehow perfectly encapsulated a lot of the ideas that we still hold about that era now. Back in, this is early 50s. This was before the whole thing had happened. This is 52.
Yeah, it might as well be the 40s.
Yeah, like and he pretty much perfectly encapsulates everything that we think about that now in this show. So very good. I really enjoyed it. As far as a cheese rating, you got to give it like a because you said short and fat. I have to give it something like that, right?
Mhm.
So,
Give it a cheese wheel.
oh yeah, cheese wheel would be good. Those are short and they're fat. Yeah, we'll give it a cheese wheel. I don't know what type of cheese. I'm gonna go with mozzarella just because it's a classic. I don't know if they even make cheese wheels for mozzarella, but we're gonna pretend they do. And if they don't, fuck it, I give it anyways.
You know what? That's fair enough. I also really, really love this show. This show I have a very big soft spot for. I can't even describe why I do. It's just very specific, and I think the score, we didn't really harp on this, is gorgeous. Like, it is one of the more beautiful, more epic sounding, more big scores out there for such a short
No,
musical.
of course it has a full orchestra behind it, so it's kind of
Yeah.
it's cheating in a way, but
Like, imagine just a ukulele and a couple, like, instruments. It would not work as well at all. But I'm going to give this Dinah's Cheese from Kurtwood Farms in Seattle. Because Dinah is the name of the mother, and she dies in A Quiet Place, Part 2. Trouble in Tahiti, Part 2, A Quiet Place, Part 2, starring Cillian Murphy.
Jesus Christ. I can't believe he called it A Quiet Place.
About his mom's death and having to reconnect with his dad, Sam, who might have been fucking the secretary.
Yeah. Maybe we'll talk about that in full at some point. But
Maybe, but I just don't have particular. I don't really want to ruin this perfect thing
It's
to me.
true. It's true. Like, this is such a good, like, and I feel like especially if we watched it where it's sandwiched, like, that would
Yeah.
that would completely ruin it.
Like a worse musical at the start and then an even worse musical at the end.
Yeah, and it's just like, here's the thing you liked sandwiched between two pieces of crap.
Is there any other movie that's like that?
Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
Garbage day! No!
You're right. You're right. That is such a good fucking pull. My brain was telling me things like Hook, where I think the beginning is fantastic and the end is fantastic, but it's got so much dog shit in the middle.
No, mine is perfect. I nailed it.
You nailed it. That example, my God. Silent Night, Deadly Night is a really unsettling film too.
It's actually pretty decent. Like, it really isn't a bad movie.
But then he got memed to death because of Garbage Day.
Well, that's the second one though. But that's the thing. The second one ruined it.
Yeah,
It legitimately, it
it was
sandwiched
the
it
Quiet
between.
Place of horror movies.
It literally sandwiched like a pretty it's not like amazing. It's like a pretty okay movie between two pieces of shit.
Man, is there any sequels to horror films that you think are really as good as the original?
Well, I mean, yeah. If you're counting like slasher movies, I would definitely say yeah. Because I mean, a lot of those like Friday the 13th is pretty shitty, right? Like, it doesn't really even get good until like the fourth one.
I mean, I think the twist of the first one is enough to make that film good for me.
I like the first one a lot, but it's rough.
But Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon does make it though. I'm actually a fan of the second one too, because they kill that little dog Muffin.
I remember 1,000 years ago, this is a true story. Andrew made the mask from the second Friday the 13th
Yes!
movie, and he sent me videos of him dancing to Just Dance in the
I
Freddy
wish I could find
or
that.
the Jason.
Do you still have those?
I don't know, but I know that you sent that to me.
I thought those were fucking funny as hell, and I wish I still had them.
I just think about that. Whenever I think about young Andrew, I think of him dressed as Jason from the second Friday the 13th
Specifically
movie.
the second one.
Yeah, where he
like-
had like the bag head.
Which is honestly still my favorite Jason. That's how he should be.
You don't like Jason X when he's in space?
Dude, that one sucks ass.
You don't like
They didn't even meet the Muppets up there.
you didn't like the one where it's not really Jason, but like some mortician guy?
I haven't seen that one, but part of me thinks that I would like it just because it's so fucking like dumb.
Tarantino thinks that's like secretly the best one, and people would love it if it weren't for the fact that it wasn't Jason.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that is true, because a lot of horror fans, they don't really care about the right stuff, really. They're just like, it wasn't Jason, that's so dumb.
Michael Myers isn't in Halloween 3. I'm gonna go cry on the internet.
Even though Halloween 3 is like probably better than half of the fucking franchise.
It is better than most of the fucking franchise. Have you seen Halloween Ends?
No, I haven't.
I think it might be like the second best Halloween movie.
Really?
Yeah, I fucking
what was the
loved
one?
it.
Wasn't the one before that like complete shit?
Yes, it was. It absolutely
but then
was.
the one before that one was pretty okay as well, though.
That one was okay. Okay, can I keep all this in?
Okay.
Halloween Ends. Spoilers for this movie because it is the most fun I've ever had watching a movie in a very long time.
Okay.
Miranda and I watched it the night it came out. It opens with on the night that Michael is out killing people, and you think, oh no, Michael Myers is gonna stop this boy babysitter and babysitting this kid. No, the boy babysitter accidentally kills the kid.
That's actually great. That's a great twist.
They
accidentally too, not even on purpose.
Yeah, he like opens the door and the kid falls down a set of stairs and just snaps his neck. But then
it's like, is it like Hereditary? Do they do it like that?
It's
That'd
a
be
little
great.
bit broader because it makes a comedy neck breaking noise when the kid falls.
Okay.
But he's like seen as basically as
it cuts to Michael Myers and they play the trombones. Womp womp.
But he is seen as just as bad as Michael Myers in this town, and he basically becomes a recluse, and he's like all of his college prospects
because
are
they think
destroyed.
that he did it on purpose.
Yes, and they think that he is just another Michael Myers, and eventually, self-fulfilling prophecy, he and Michael Myers just start killing people together. And
they team up?
Yeah, and until eventually that kid starts taking over for Michael Myers wearing the mask as him, because Michael Myers is an old fucking man, so this kid can actually complete kills and make them actually threatening. And it's just a really good, like, passing the baton, except you have a character you actually kind of care about, and he is in this killing mode, and you get why he's murdering people, and he's murdering bullies and all this. It's like Christine mixed with Halloween, and it's just such a bonkers, its own film kind of thing.
Now it makes perfect sense why people fucking hated it, too.
Because it's a good movie and an idea.
I remember people saying that it was bad, and like I just said, horror fans care about the wrong shit. They're just like, it wasn't really Michael Myers. This is so lame.
And he just wants to start this kid, and he's giving a fucking good performance, this guy who's playing. I am baffled that no one else liked this movie, because it is, and it's got a John Carpenter score, like he and his son composed it. It is one of the better horror films I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, no, I'm watching that soon. That's on the list. Anyways.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Please follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Spotify doesn't exist. Or sorry, Stitcher doesn't exist anymore. Spotify's still kicking somehow.
Guys,
we're on Twitter.
follow us on Threads.
we do have a Threads. The Musicals with
do?
Cheese does have a Thread, so follow us there.
Oh, yeah, promote it. I mean, like,
Yeah, we're on Threads.
I feel like Twitter will be gone in a couple months. We'll see.
Sincerely, I like Threads better because it lets me keep Musicals with Cheese as my username, and Twitter did not let me do that. So, fuck Twitter.
My only problem with Threads right now is I just can't find the content that I want, like the people that I want to follow yet, because I think a lot of them haven't moved over from Twitter yet.
I liked it because Instagram just automatically gave you your followers from Instagram and let you follow the people you were following on Instagram.
I didn't have any followings on Instagram because I
followed
don't
you.
use that. I don't use Instagram, so.
That's fair. But yeah, we're on Patreon, Musicals with Cheese, Instagram, Musicals with Cheese, Threads, Musicals with Cheese, YouTube page, Musicals with Cheese, Patreon only podcast, Patreon with Cheese. Email us to tell us, stop talking about horror films. You're a musical theater podcast. Fuck you. At musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com. Our keeper of the cheese is Juliet Antonio. Here's some ASMR for you, Juliet. Halloween Ends is pretty good, and y'all are just mean. This show is edited by Andrew DeWolf, and if that didn't make sense, burn him. He cut a whole lot of gold out.
I'm not cutting the Halloween stuff. That's
Cool.
gold. Because that flows naturally from the incredible Silent Night, Deadly Night conversation.
You're right. God, I sincerely wish it was earlier in the night so I could just watch Halloween Ends with you right now. Thank you to the Broadway Podcast Network for having us on the platform and for not kicking us off for spending about a third of this episode talking about horror movies. All right, Andrew, anything else left to say?
This episode is 20 minutes longer than Trouble in Tahiti, so if you had time to listen to this, you should have listened to Trouble in Tahiti.
He makes good points. We'll see you next time on Musicals with Cheese. There's a legend, if a princess marry white man on a rainfall that day, then the white man shall be sacrificed without delay. Sure enough, on the night of their wedding day, there's a storm like nothing on earth. Tidal waves and sickles and hurricane, and to top it all off, a volcano erupts, and the natives sing, away!